out. If you have a child at home who cannot read, don't understand the English or any Ghanaian language, then he or she may be part of the very disturbing 98% of pupils in basic schools in Ghana who can't just do that. A survey carried out between July 9 to 11, 2013 revealed that 44% of the 19,458 pupils could read without understanding what they read, while only 4% were able to read with some understanding. The biennial survey was carried out in 550 public and private schools across the country in 170 districts. The disturbing findings come on the heels of the West Africa Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination results, which registered over 50% failure in 2014. And well, we want to have a conversation around this. I'm joined over the telephone by educationist Michael Insoa. Also in my studio is Shay Adam. Shay Adam is a reporter on News Generation. In a bit, you understand why Shay is here with me in the studio. But I'm going to start off with Michael. Michael, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What could be the cause of this?
Well, there are several causes. Of course, the person at the center of this whole thing is the teacher. The teacher is at the center, and many factors can contribute to this kind of situation. It is. I want you to know that if you look at even global reports on this on quality issues, it is becoming clear that if I can read just a small portion for you to of 100 countries with data on primary education, they also surveyed 100 countries. 75% of teachers were trained to the national standard, and some of them were trained, or some of them entered the system when they did not have the adequate academic background. And they cited countries like Mali, which has similar results, shocking results that you find. And all this contribute to this kind of thing. Now, so the teacher is at the center, and the teacher has a big role to play. But the teacher alone cannot be blamed for this kind of situation. Of course, if the training is not right, this is what you get. Or if the person is not trained, then this is what you get. But the teacher needs tools to work with, needs logistics. Now, if the logistics are not there, that also contributes to this. Now, talking about technology in teaching, communicating information using technology, which we call ICT. It's rather, in education, it is communicating, that is, or teaching information using technology. Why are we so obsessed with computers when we know the net is not available to many schools across the country? But when we have a very low-level technology, that can easily improve the situation. And I'm proud to say that if I am able to speak some good English, it started with the olden days, early 50s, which I know.
Right.
There were programs from broadcasting from Radio Ghana at that time.
Right. So Michael, the point we're making is there is a problem with the system here. That's the point. The system that includes the teacher.
No, the problem is there because we think the teacher can do everything. But even from the Global Monetary Report, they are insisting that when the teacher leaves the classroom, leaves the college, that teacher must continuously be supported to do his or her work.
Okay, so let's look at what government has done before over the time to correct this. Considering you've been at the GES before, you were former Director General. Tell us some of the interventions government has put in place in this regard.
Oh, currently, let me speak at the current of it. They have the NALA, which is, has to do with the language, intervention program, which is going out throughout the country. And I am sure some of the assessment was done because of this program, so that they will know what to do. Now, the interventions, of course, the main intervention has always to ensure that the children have the books that they will need to continue to revise when they are out of, they are not in school. That is when they go home. So that is a very important intervention that we need. And also constant support for the teachers through the what we normally call e-service. When people are teachers complete the training, they go out. There are teachers who have been in the field for over 10 years. They've never been invited or supported to be able to know taking that up.
Right. So
they continue to do the old thing.
I'll let you finish that point in a bit. But Shay Adam, who is here with me in the studio, is a News Generation reporter. Now, News Generation is a news program here on Joy News that involves children, a lot of children, and so they visit a lot of schools. So let's find out from you, from your experience, how would this read into your experience?
Yeah, since we've been interacting with a number of them day in and day out, and what we realize is most of them who are between 12 and 15 are able to speak and possibly write. But looking at it, it's like the foundation is a problem. Most of them who are from the kindergarten level to primary 6 are not mostly able to speak. And it appears a problem is due to the beginning, where teaching at the beginning is mostly centered on speaking only instead of reading. Teachers there appears not to inculcate reading into these young ones, and therefore they are always focused on kind of teaching them how to sing, talk, and that's...
But you visited in a number of schools, public, private, alike. What would be your assessment of these two schools?
Very clear. Generally, we've been interacting with private schools, and that's where we always get to speak to these young ones who are able to articulate themselves as compared to the government or public schools. Mostly it's a problem interacting with them, and they are not even able sometimes to construct full sentences that require answers that serve as answers we ask or we demand from them.
I see. Now that is Shay's experience with working with children from basic schools. Michael,
yeah.
As a country, perhaps we are speaking too many languages with the children.
Yeah.
And how does that pose a problem for us?
The many languages we are speaking is not a problem. Like the new, it's not a new directive. Recently, the Minister of Education, David, also insisted that, look, we should go back to using the local language to teach the children in the first 3 years, so that, many countries have done this successfully. And outside South Africa, and by the courtesy of USAID, we were able to see it in action. Look, there's always controversy over whose mother tongue, because about 40 or so children in the class, their mothers have different mother tongue. But that is not what stops South Africa from overcoming this issue. South Africa now classifies the language that is used within the community. They call it play language. Children, when they are playing, they all have one language that they use. Whether you come from north or east or west or so, they use one language. So if I live in Choko, my child would definitely be playing with Choko children who are Ghana, and therefore will be speaking Ghana. So a school in Choko, the first 3 years they teach it, they identify and use that language.
But
and then they call it bridge to English. When they have had a very firm foundation in the local, then they bridge to English. They have books that shows how you translate from your language into using the medium of instruction being English. Now, in the meantime, the child has gotten a very good grasp of things around him or her, and therefore is able to command the local language.
Okay.
So
Now, Michael,
like
Shay observed in his working while working with these children. These children seem to have had a lot of emphasis laid on speaking the language without necessarily knowing the language they're speaking. So then they can pronounce the word enforce, they can say it, but they don't understand enforce or know how it's written.
Exactly.
And so when they see it, they can read it. How do we correct that?
You mean they can read it?
These children can read it.
I thought I heard him saying that they do more of speaking and listen than...
Now, what the report says is the fact that now a lot of them can't read. Those who can don't even understand what they're reading.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
And that's why we've been trying to diagnose what the problem could be when it comes to that.
The problem is that they don't have a firm foundation in their first language. And that's why they can read it, but they could not identify, be able to put figures or images on what they are reading. And that is one of the importance of starting with the a local language. Anything. Now, let me also say that while the medium of instruction is in the local language for the first 3 years, English is taught as a language. Sorry, as a subject. English is taught. So it is not that you are cut off from knowing anything about the English language, but English is taught as a subject, while the medium. So when it comes to the English, now the vocabulary that the child knows will be a source of reference for the English words that are going to be introduced for the child to know.
I see.
Because the child already knows the first language, so it becomes easier to put images on them.
Michael, I'm going to have you hold the line. So, Shay, you think we probably just have for lack of a better word, a dumb generation of children?
Not necessarily, but the problem I think is written construction mainly, and that's the problem we're facing. For spoken, yes, they can speak, but the written aspect is with what we lack. The basic written construction is not there. So those of them, some of them you find they can speak, articulate themselves very well, but when you put a book before them, reading becomes a problem.
Michael, I'm going to pose the same question to you. Could it be just a matter of children who can't assimilate what they are taught?
No, you see, of course, I want to admit that if it is not done properly, they will not. There are so many factors that goes on during learning. To be able to remember what has been taught depends on so many factors, which maybe we will not be able to go to that. We'll have something in psychology of learning called readiness. Was the child ready at the time all those things were being done? Because so many things can distract the attention of the child, and therefore, in the end, we will say that during the interaction, the child was not ready. So many things can happen. There are so many things, social factors and economic factors, and so many things can happen. So readiness is very important in learning. Once the child, even when the teacher himself or herself is not ready, it can affect the learning situation.
I see. How can we help children move away from this?
It is important that, the teacher at the same time is a parent in the classroom and a counselor. I was talking about readiness. If the child is not ready, something physically is wrong with the child, either emotionally or psychologically, and therefore the teacher needs to address that situation first, because it is not just you have to complete the lesson in 30 minutes, and even if they are looking at your face and they are sleeping, you are going on. Because the normal thing for a teacher to know whether the children have understood or not is to ask, children, do you understand? And of course, even a sleeping child will say yes, sir. and that does not help. So just need a new orientation to be able to ensure that the children are ready. Where one or two have problems, you need to sit down, let them get your confidence or your honesty that you are not going to sort of ridicule him or her because he or she is that good. Once they get that confidence in you as a teacher, they will open up and you the teacher, then we will be able to help them. And once you try to help them, then psychologically, they will also want to appreciate what you've done for them. That is the point where the children will start coming up. Because they are saying like, oh, this teacher has had all this stuff, but I must also pay for her.
Michael, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Michael and so as former Director General for the Ghana Education Service. Shay Adams, a News Generation reporter, and he's still here with me. So, Shay, what sort of teachers did you meet while you were there? I mean, we've looked at the student who may not necessarily assimilate what is being taught, but then we could have some teachers, like Michael indicated, who haven't been helped enough and hence are not churning out good information. What sort of teachers, when you compare the public and private schools, what sort of teachers do we have?
It's sometimes very difficult to say, because when you look at some of these private schools, you see untrained teachers who man the children, yet the children are doing very well. But when you go to the private schools, trained teachers are there, yet there seems to be some kind of lapses there. So it's difficult to say this kind of teacher who is untrained is not doing well, and this teacher who is trained is doing well. So I think it's something which should be taken a second look at.
Let's take a look at some of the conversations News Generation has had with children from a private school. Now, mind you, this survey is not just on public schools, it's public-privates. Let's take a look at what happened when News Generation visited a private school.
I live around New Boy Town area, close to La Paz, and the sanitation condition around there is not very good. It's poor.
The sanitation situation in my area is not extremely bad. It's manageable. We can handle it. It's not as bad as other areas in Accra.
Waste management in the capital has been a problem for years. Littering, failure of waste management companies to honor their duty, among other practices, contribute to it. So, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has stepped up efforts to rid the city of filth.
So that was an interview on sanitation where News Generation encountered some girls from a private school here in the capital city. Shay, for such a girl who understands what she's saying, knows what, will be able to read what she's saying, how different is that girl from the private school, from the public school?
Yeah, clearly the difference is there. The difference is there. He or she is able to articulate and construct from A to Z what he wants to, or he or she wants to say. But when you go to other schools like the public schools, you don't see that. So I think
what sort of help will the child in the less privileged school need?
I think parents have a part to play here, because though we don't want to play away our language, our indigenous language, but I think parents should help by speaking the English language to them, kind of teaching them to read at home and speak with them when the news arises.
I wonder what happened to our library system here in the country.
So
because one of our best bets out of this is to encourage reading, and appropriate reading, because you find teenagers reading all sorts of books, including love novels and all that, and so we might want to check that as well. But age appropriate reading could be our best bet out. Don't worry, here on Joy News in subsequent broadcasts we'll find out what happened to our library system, which has killed off our reading habits completely. I remember growing up, I went to a few libraries in Tema, because I lived in Ashaiman. I went to Tema to read at the community center in Community 1. And then I'm wondering, what's changed over time? The library system just collapsed.
Yeah, I think the library now,
it's only the universities you find a library.
And our library now is the internet cafe.
Is the internet cafe.
Smart devices. And that's what we're also killing our reading abilities.
Perhaps we should look at how parents can inculcate reading with the same technology that the children have available to them. Thank you very much, Shay, for your time. Shay Adam is a reporter here at Joy News.